Love is not the fleeting spark of desire, not the bargain that says, if you give me love, I will give you love in return. No, love is older than time. It is the frequency you were born into, the home you never truly left, only forgot. This audiobook is not about teaching you how to earn love. You already are love. It is about remembering, returning, reclaiming love as your truest power. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The language of love. Love speaks, but not in the words we were trained to listen for. Love speaks in silence, in the warmth of presence, in the feeling of being fully seen without having to perform. You have known this language before, perhaps in the embrace of someone who asked nothing of you, perhaps in the stillness of nature where trees and rivers hold you without judgment, perhaps in those rare moments when you dropped all pretense and allowed yourself to simply exist. Love is not performance. It does not demand applause. It does not keep score. Love is. But for many of us, love became confused with approval. We were told love must be earned, that we must be good enough, quiet enough, successful enough, desirable enough. And in that striving, we stopped hearing love's true voice. Love does not say, change and I will stay. Love says, you are already whole. I am here. Love does not ask you to shrink so others may feel tall. Love asks you to expand so others may remember they can also expand. And love does not abandon you when you fall. It kneels beside you, reminding you that no fall can erase your essence. The language of love is simple, but it is not always easy to hear, because the world is loud. Fear shouts, scarcity argues, control demands, and in the noise, love can feel like a whisper. Yet the whisper is steady. It speaks through your body, the softening of your shoulders when forgiveness flows, the warmth in your chest when gratitude rises, the deep breath that comes when you release the need to prove. It speaks through connection, the ease of laughter with a friend, the comfort of someone who listens without judgment, the quiet strength of being accepted just as you are. It speaks through creation, the joy of writing words that carry your truth, the peace of painting colors that mirror your soul, the wonder of bringing something into being that did not exist before. Love's language is always available, but you must learn to recognize its sound. It is the sound of freedom, the sound of wholeness, the sound of remembering. Today, begin to listen again. When you feel peace arise for no reason, recognize it. When your body softens in kindness, honor it. When you breathe and suddenly know you're enough, trust it. Love has never stopped speaking. It is we who forgot how to listen. But the moment you listen again, you realize the language was always yours. Chapter 2. Healing through love. There are wounds that time alone cannot touch, scars that logic cannot explain away, pains that persistence cannot grind through. But love reaches where nothing else can. Love is not only gentle, love is medicine. It moves into the hidden places of your heart, softening what fear tried to harden, dissolving what shame tried to bury, restoring what despair declared broken. You have felt this before, perhaps in the embrace that made your tears finally fall, perhaps in the quiet forgiveness that rose in your chest when you thought you would never forgive, perhaps in the way your own heart kept beating, carrying you through nights you thought you would not survive. That was love. Love that heals not by ignoring pain, but by staying present until the pain loosens its grip. The world often teaches healing through hardness. Be stronger. Toughen up. Move on. But true healing does not demand hardness. It invites softness. It invites you to be seen where you feel most ashamed. It invites you to be held where you feel most fragile, and in that invitation the wound begins to close. Love heals through presence, not through rushing, not through fixing, simply by staying with yourself, staying with another, staying long enough for the wound to remember it is not alone. This is why self-love is not vanity. It's a sacred preservation, the grounding of your spirit in its own truth. To look at yourself with tenderness is to offer healing where criticism carved scars. To speak kindly to yourself is to apply balm where condemnation burned. Every act of love toward yourself is medicine, rewriting the story that once told you that you were unworthy. Love heals through forgiveness, not the shallow forgiveness that excuses abuse or denies harm, but the deep forgiveness that frees you from carrying what was never yours to hold. Forgiveness releases the past from dictating your future. It is the moment you stop bleeding from yesterday's wounds and begin breathing into today's life. Love heals through connection. Isolation can deepen pain, yes. Shame often grows in silence, but solitude is not the same as isolation. Solitude is chosen. Solitude is sacred. It is the space where you heal, where you listen, where you breathe without the noise of the crowd. Solitude restores while isolation depletes. One imprisons, the other liberates. Love heals even the body. Science now confirms what spirit has always known. Hearts filled with love beat steadier. Minds touched by love find more peace. Bodies surrounded by love recover faster. Love does not only heal the soul, it restores the whole. If you doubt this, pause and remember. Remember the last time you felt safe, truly safe in the presence of love. How your shoulders dropped, how your breath deepened, how your mind grew quiet. That was healing. Love is the medicine of remembrance. It reminds you that you are not broken beyond repair. It reminds you that you are not alone in your journey. It reminds you that what was wounded can be restored. So let love in. Let it speak to the parts of you you have kept hidden. Let it wrap the places you called unworthy. Let it hold what you thought was beyond healing, because nothing is beyond healing in love. Nothing, not even you. Chapter 3. The illusions that block love. Love is not absent from your life. It is here now, woven into your very being, but often you cannot feel it, not because it is gone, but because illusions stand in the way. Illusions like veils, thin, deceptive, but heavy enough to hide the truth from your sight. The first illusion is unworthiness, the lie that whispers, you are not enough. You must earn love, prove love, deserve love. This illusion is powerful because it often began early, in childhood, when love was confused with approval, when affection was given for performance and withdrawn for mistakes. Slowly, you began to believe that love was a wage, not a birthright. But here is the truth. Love is not earned. It is remembered. You were loved before you ever spoke a word. You remain loved no matter what has been said about you, no matter what has been withheld. Another illusion is scarcity. The belief that love is limited, that there is not enough for everyone. So you cling, compete, and compromise, hoping to secure your portion before it runs out. But love does not obey the logic of scarcity. It is not a part to be divided. It is a well that does not run dry. The more you draw from it, the more it flows. Scarcity is the illusion. Abundance is the truth. A third illusion is fear. Fear says, if you open your heart, you will be hurt. If you trust, you will be betrayed. If you give, you will lose. Fear builds walls around your heart and calls them protection. But walls keep out more than pain. They also keep out joy. They keep out intimacy. They keep out the healing you long for. Love does not eliminate risk, but it transforms it. Even when love costs, what it builds in you is always greater than what it asks of you. Another illusion is control. The belief that if you can manage everything, every relationship, every outcome, you will finally feel safe in love. But control is not safety. Control is fear in disguise. And love cannot be controlled. It must be allowed. The moment you try to force it, shape it, or own it, it slips away. Love flourishes not in grasping, but in surrender. Then there is the illusion of perfection, the idea that only when you are flawless will you be worthy of love. So you polish, you perform, you hide your cracks. But perfection is not what draws love. It is authenticity. The cracks are not disqualifications, they are entry points. They are where light gets in, where tenderness enters, where love becomes real. And perhaps the most deceptive illusion is distance. The belief that love is always out there, in another person, in another season, in another place. So you chase it, waiting for someone or something to complete you. But the love you are seeking is not out there. It is here within you. Others may reflect it, but they do not create it. To believe love is elsewhere is to overlook the well already flowing inside. Illusions are powerful because they feel true. They echo in your mind. They repeat through your experiences. But illusions are not truth. They are stories. Stories told by fear, by memory, by pain. And stories can be rewritten. When you pause, when you listen, when you breathe past the noise, you feel it. The deeper current, the quiet presence, love waiting behind the veil. The work is not to create love, but to clear what blocks it, to lift the illusions one by one until only truth remains. The truth that you are worthy, the truth that love is abundant, the truth that fear cannot hold you, the truth that control is unnecessary, the truth that imperfection is beautiful, the truth that love is already here. Each time you unmask an illusion, you return to what was never gone. You remember, you reclaim, you rise again into the love that has always been yours. Chapter 4. Love and Power. For too long, the world has taught us that power comes through force, through domination, through fear, through control. But this kind of power is fragile. It is borrowed strength, always dependent on someone else's submission. It must be defended, maintained, guarded with walls and weapons, and in the end it corrodes the very one who wields it. True power is not found in force. True power is found in love. Love is not weakness. It is the strongest current in existence. It is the force that births galaxies, the pulse that keeps your heart beating, the reason you're alive at all. Fear tries to imitate power, but fear only takes. Love creates, fear diminishes. Love expands, fear controls. Love liberates. When you act from fear, you may appear powerful, but inside you are small. When you act from love, you may appear gentle, but inside you are unshakable. This is why leaders who rule with fear crumble when challenged. But those who stand in love, their presence lingers, their influence ripples far beyond their lifetime. Love does not need to shout. Love does not need to threaten. Love simply is, and in its being, it transforms everything it touches. Think of a mother's presence calming a restless child. Think of a friend's love carrying you through a dark night. Think of the way your own body begins to heal when you bathe it in kindness instead of criticism. That is power. Power that restores instead of destroys. Power that gives life instead of taking it. Love and power are not opposites. They are the same when seen rightly. Power without love is tyranny. Love without power is sentiment, but love as power, that is transformation. When you begin to root your choices in love, something shifts. You no longer need to manipulate to get what you want. You no longer need to control others to feel secure. You no longer need to compete because you understand abundance. Your power becomes effortless because it flows from truth. This is why love is feared by systems built on domination. Because love makes you uncontrollable. When you act in love, You cannot be bribed, threatened, or manipulated. You are free, and that freedom is your greatest strength. But here is the challenge. Love will sometimes feel like weakness in a world that glorifies hardness. It will feel risky to forgive. It will feel foolish to trust. It will feel naive to open your heart. Yet every time you choose love over fear, you anchor yourself in true power. A power that does not depend on circumstance. A power that no one can take from you. To live in love is to live in authority. Not authority over others, but authority over yourself. Authority over your fears. Authority over your reactions. Authority over the illusions that once ruled you. This is creative authority, the power to shape your life from the frequency of love. Love is the source of miracles, not because it ignores reality, but because it reveals a deeper one. Fear looks at the world and sees limits. Love looks at the world and sees possibilities. Fear says, it cannot be done. Love says, watch, it already is. So let love be your power. Let it guide your words. Let it shape your choices. Let it expand your presence, because in the end, love always outlasts fear. Love always outshines control. Love always wins. And when you choose to live this truth, you do not just survive this world, you transform it. Chapter 5. The frequency of relationships. Every relationship vibrates at a frequency. It is not always spoken in words, but you feel it. You feel it in the way your body relaxes or tenses when someone enters the room. You feel it in the way conversations leave you expanded or diminished. You feel it in the silence between words, whether it restores you or drains you. Relationships are not just exchanges of time. They are exchanges of energy, and every exchange either lifts you higher or pulls you lower. When love is present, the frequency of a relationship is expansive. You feel seen, not for performance, but for presence. You feel safe, not because there is no conflict, but because truth can be spoken without fear. You feel nourished because the energy flows both ways. Love does not demand that you shrink. It invites you to rise. But when fear governs a relationship, the frequency contracts. You walk on eggshells. You silence your truth. You trade authenticity for acceptance. Fear convinces you to stay small so that the connection will not break. Yet any connection that demands your smallness is not true connection. Love expands, fear contracts. This is the compass of relationship frequency. It is important to see this not only with others, but also with yourself. Your relationship with yourself sets the tone for all other bonds. If you treat yourself with criticism, you will unconsciously accept criticism from others. If you abandon yourself, you will tolerate abandonment. But if you honor yourself with love, you create relationships that mirror that honor. Boundaries are the tuning fork of relationships. They set the vibration. They declare, this is how I choose to be treated, and this is how I will treat you. Without boundaries, the frequency becomes chaotic, pulled by fear, manipulation, or control. With boundaries, the frequency steadies, allowing love to flow freely. This is why some connections leave you feeling exhausted, while others leave you alive. It is not always about how long you spend together. It is about the frequency exchanged. Did you give from love or from fear? Did you receive from truth or from pretense? Did the bond lift you closer to your essence or further from it? The most liberating realization is that you cannot control another's frequency. You can only choose your own. You can only decide whether to remain in environments that align with your truth, or to lovingly step away when they do not. This is not abandonment. This is alignment. Love teaches you that relationships are not prisons. They are mirrors. They show you where you are healed and where you are still tender. They reveal the illusions you still believe and the truths you are ready to live. Some mirrors you keep close, others you outgrow. Both are teachers. When you begin to live in the frequency of love, something shifts. You stop chasing relationships that demand your proving. You stop tolerating dynamics that thrive on control. You stop confusing intensity with intimacy, and you start drawing to yourself connections that are gentle, expansive, true. Love becomes the frequency that calls in love. Not perfect people, but aligned people. Not flawless bonds, but authentic ones. Relationships where truth is welcome, where growth is mutual, where freedom is honored. So listen closely to the frequency of your relationships, not the words spoken, not the appearances shown, but the energy exchanged. Does it contract or expand? Does it diminish or empower? Does it silence or liberate? And then remember, you are not powerless in this. You carry the frequency of love within you. When you embody it, you tune the room. You shift the atmosphere. You change the exchange. Relationships are not about control. They are about resonance. And when you resonate with love, you will find love reflecting back to you in the people who stay, in the people who grow with you, and even in the strength to release those who do not. Chapter 6. Practices that root you in love. Love is not only a feeling, it is a practice, a way of being, a daily choice. Feelings rise and fall, but practices ground you. Practices fortify you when storms rise, remind you of truth when illusions whisper, and return you to the steady current of love when fear tries to steal your ground. The first practice is breath. Your breath is the rhythm of life itself. Each inhale is creation saying, I choose you again. Each exhale is an invitation to release what no longer belongs. When fear presses in, pause. Breathe slowly. Let every breath ground you deeper into the presence of love. The second practice is to speak kindly to yourself. Your inner voice is the soil where your spirit grows. If that soil is poisoned with harshness, you shrink. If it is nourished with kindness, you rise. Speak to yourself as you would to someone you treasure. Replace I am failing with I am learning. Replace I am broken with I am becoming. These words fortify your heart. They remind you of who you are when fear tries to rewrite your story. The next practice is gratitude. Gratitude does not deny pain. It restores perspective in the midst of it. Each day, name what love has already given you: a breath, a sunrise, a laugh, a lesson, a heartbeat. Gratitude lifts your eyes from what is missing to what is present. It roots you again in the abundance of love that never stops flowing. Boundaries are another practice. They are not barriers of fear, but shields of clarity. They say, I will not betray myself to please you, and I will not ask you to betray yourself for me. Notice where your energy is drained. That is where a boundary is waiting to be drawn. Set it, speak it, hold it. Boundaries fortify you in love, so that what enters your life nurtures rather than depletes. There is also the practice of solitude. Solitude is not loneliness. It is chosen stillness, sacred and restorative. It is the space where you listen, where you heal, where you remember who you are. Walk in silence, sit with your own thoughts. Write what stirs in your heart. Solitude grounds you in your essence, so that when you return to the world, you return whole, not hollow. Love also grows when it is extended. Offer kindness without demand. Offer forgiveness when you are ready. Offer presence to those who feel unseen. Every act of compassion fortifies not only those you touch, but also your own heart. Love strengthens as it circulates. Finally, love is anchored in stillness. Stillness is the place where illusions dissolve. When you quiet the endless noise, the voices, the screens, the demands, you begin to hear the deeper voice within. Love rarely shouts. It whispers. It waits. Stillness roots you in that whisper, reminding you of what is eternal when everything else feels fleeting. Practices are not about perfection. You will forget them. You will drift from them. You will fall into fear and illusion. But each practice is a doorway back, a way to be grounded again in love, a way to be fortified in the truth that love never left you. Love is not earned, love is lived, and the more you practice it, the more it becomes not something you reach for, but something you naturally are. To live as love is not to escape the world, it is to walk through it differently. It is to see yourself as whole, and from that wholeness to see others more clearly. It is to let kindness guide your words, to let truth steady your choices, to let freedom shape your presence. Love will not remove every storm, but it will ground you through them. It will not erase every wound, but it will teach you how to heal. It will not silence every fear, but it will remind you that fear is not your master. Living as love is not perfection, it is remembrance. Each day, each breath, each choice is an opportunity to return. And as you return, again and again, you become what you always were, a living expression of love.